Hi, everybody. Took me some time to finish binge watching this show. It's called The Cult of the Real Housewives, and it is based on Mary Cosby. If you don't know, Mary Cosby is one of the Salt Lake City, Utah Real Housewives. The reason why I'm doing a video about this, and I'm just going to speak freely, I didn't want to type anything up to say. I wanted to speak from the top of my mind. Is that cults are real things, you know, and unfortunately, in every walk of faith, we don't want to chastise one over the other, but in particular, Mary was um, pastor at her church. She basically inherited the church from her grandmother, and then went as far as to assume, the faith leader of the church, and marry her grandmother's late husband. That being said, I do believe that cults do exist, and I do believe, based off of binge watching this show, which you can, it's on TLC, but you can watch it on HBO Max or Max or whatever they're calling it today. I do believe that there are faith leaders that will scorn their members or will try to illicit money. I mean, it's been in the news big time, especially in the past like 5 years. There was a lot of little scandals that went on at different religious organizations, not just Christian churches, but people who are taking offerings or donations to the church. And Mary, basically, no one knows in her congregation what happened to this money. No one knows, but we do know that this woman and her husband, which is her step grandfather, was vicious. We do know that several members that were on that congregation was told that if they didn't come up with a certain amount of money, or if they were donating to other causes and they were not bringing the money to her and tithing a certain amount, she would have them lock the doors, just like what happened recently with the Marvin Sapp situation. For me, I feel like the tithing and whatever kind of religious, whatever kind of religion you belong to, right? Any donation that you give to your rabbi, to your imam, to your any kind of charitable, because that is considered, it's supposed to be a non-profit organization, but a lot of these faith institutions are operating under, I don't want to say extortion, but in a cult, that's what it is. They're trying to use Jesus in this sense with Mary Cosby. They're trying to use Jesus against you as a member of her church. That, you will go to hell, you will no longer belong to our organization. There was a woman on one of the episodes, and I did write her name down because I wanted to say her name, Susie Tunson. She was denied uh, the opportunity to go to her sister's funeral. She was told by Mary Cosby that she was no longer a part of her church and that she could not even attend her sister's funeral. I don't know too many people that would take kindly to another person who is just as imperfect as they are, and of earthly flesh, imperfect earthly flesh, to tell a person that you can't go to your sister's funeral. I don't know too many people that would have just let that slide or just let that happen. And the reason why I'm doing this video is because I was in complete awe of the fact that you have these people who are strong in their faith. And I don't take anybody, I'm not here to measure your level of faith or, this, that, and the third. That's not what I'm here to do. What I'm here to say is, trying to chastise someone as if you have a heaven or a hell to put them in, and that because you are a faith leader or a pastor, deacon, rabbi, shaman, anything, a priest, bishop, you are no more above. I don't know why people seem to put others on a pedestal in religion and feel like my faith is measured by my loyalty to the church. Your faith is not measured by your loyalty to the church. Your tithes are given onto the church as an, tithe and offering, right? But that money is to support, it's supposed to be to support the church. It's not supposed to be for the lifestyle that Mary had. Because I watched Salt Lake City and I wasn't familiar with her, I knew she was, from the first couple seasons when she was on there, that, she said she was a pastor, and that, she was told by God to marry her grandfather, her step grandfather. I mean, it doesn't get more ungodly when you say that. I get upset when people are so headstrong to just say Jesus said this or Jesus said that. Because that woman telling her congregation, even though no one else was in agreement with her marrying her step grandfather, she told that congregation and sat in front in that altar and up at the front as if, this is what it is. And you have to follow. You must follow. You must follow. We are in an imperfect world. I can't say it. I can say it a million times. We are in an imperfect world. You trying to think that God is sending this message to Mary to give people were draining out their accounts. Draining out their accounts. You have to watch this, because it's not about a reality personality. It is strictly about the cult, the Christian. For her, it's Pentecostal. I'm not. I think I may have attended maybe one Pentecostal service. There's no way that any earthly person, I don't care what ministry school or seminary school, whatever you went to, you're not going to sit up there and tell me that what I'm paying into your church, I'm coming forth emptying out my retirement. I'm coming forth emptying out my bank accounts, taking second loans and all this other craziness. There's no way. We have to stop thinking that these faith leaders are just the next thing to God, the next thing to slice bread. They are no different than us. People are using that word ordained, or that, like when the whole situation with the Pope, that's another example, which I'll do a different video for that. You gotta stop with this, because even though Mary was getting all of this money from her congregation and nobody knew where the money was going to, baby, she knew where it was going to, and her step grandfather knew where it was going to. It was going in their bank accounts. And that is straight up robbery. It is. Did God tell her she was to be a robber? Because you keep putting that word religion, but people are not of the whole. It's only parts of the word or pieces that they took out, or certain passages that, my favorite scripture or my favorite. That does not take away from the fact that, baby, you are still imperfect. You cannot hold your head high out here and live high off the horse and off the backs of your congregation and expect to not be held accountable, and expect to not have people disassociate themselves from your church because members are aware of certain things that you've done to their neighbor, to their, with their money. You know what I'm saying? And above that, there was a man that was on there that they said that she had an affair with. So not only did you marry your step grandfather, but you're having a full blown affair with someone that you're supposed to be mentoring or supposed to be bringing up as another leader in the church. I don't put anything past anyone. And once my eyes began to open up and finally see the veil is lifted, you have popes, priests, deacons, bishops, and the pedophilia and the homosexuality, baby, it's real. And Mary Cosby, whatever her name is, she needs to understand that what you don't, what you have gotten in this life, baby, it's another life. And that's the afterlife. And that's the price you're going to have to pay. And the burden that you shall have. Because robbing your congregation and putting or imparting fear, some of these testimonies from some of these people, and I'm just like, I know it takes a little bit for me to be ready for war. And I'm not saying like in a physical sense. I mean in a verbal sense, because I will gather you together. I will gather you together. Mary knows that she is no different than any of these other illegitimate people. Not all. I'm not saying all priests, rabbis, deacons, shamans, all this. I'm not saying all of them are creepy and into some vile things and rob their congregations or their followers, or take money where it shouldn't be. I'm not saying all, but the optics don't look good on earth as it pertains to religion. If anything that I took from watching that woman's demise with her church and everything like that is that you should always try to live right and do right by people, especially as a leader. That should be 101 ethics for them, okay? In any school or any doctrine, if you can't do right by people, how do you expect to lead? How do you expect to lead? How do you expect people to trust you? In an imperfect world, you want me to trust you, Mary Cosby, and you have Birkin after Birkin after Chanel, and I come to you with a burden or a setback. The young lady lost her life. She didn't even send a flower. There were no condolences. The family said that she said on the reality show, she should have been wearing a seatbelt. That's why that young lady passed away. You wanted to say, not God rest her soul, not that was such an unfortunate situation, and I pray and uplift her. It is the blindness. People, wake up now. Ask all the questions that you want to ask, especially from earthly people. But you don't owe any allegiance to earthly people. You owe your allegiance to the Father, to the Most High, to the universe, however you choose to participate or practice your religion. Because I don't knock anybody for what they believe, but don't trust the people here on earth, because it is very misleading. It is very critical that you open your eyes, and before you put that money out, check in with yourself. I would have said that if I was interviewing any of those people. How did you feel when you were giving away vacation money, when you were giving away selling stocks and bonds, and you were taking out loans, and you felt as though you had to give a bigger amount when it was time to sow into the church? How did you feel about it? Because if your own spirit didn't feel right about it, I wouldn't have came back. And if you try to bring people with you, why feel guilty because you want to save another innocent person? Nah. Mary, you don't have a leg to stand on for this documentary, baby. They got you, and they got you. They exposed you, and I hope that you've changed your ways, but I wouldn't join any church, I wouldn't even want to sit in a circle with her and have her pray for me. You got to believe in your own faith. You got to believe in the strength of your own relationship with God. Because, again, we are in the last days, baby. We are in the real last days. And the same people that were praying for you may not be the same people that you can depend on now. May not be the same people that you can trust now. And that's just facts.